family, and welcome to Motherland Radio. This is Brother DJ along with Baba Hekima. Greetings, Baba Hekima. Are you with us?
I am.
All right. Good to hear your voice, Baba. How you doing today?
Good to be heard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, sisters and brothers, those of you who are calling in, we've got an outstanding program lined up for you tonight. Those of you who are listening in online for the first time, you're definitely in for a treat as well. So certainly would like to give greetings to the family. Baba Hekima, you want to say anything before we officially kick off our program tonight?
Well, I do. And you may have planned to cover it anyway, but brothers and sisters who are calling in and who are listening in over internet radio are a part of a weekly campaign. We sent out a couple of thousand emails promoting the call tonight, and some of you bounced it out to others. We also use Facebook, Twitter, and I'm not sure any other means to bring people to the call. But one of the things we ask everyone to do is to go through our about 14-minute presentation before you came to this call. I know sometimes we don't have a chance to do that, but we would all benefit from our time together this evening, and every Thursday evening if we would first go through the online presentation, the ULU presentation. On our website, there are 3 videos. The top video is our presentation. It says, "At last, a winning plan." But the email that we sent out also has a link to that. And so I know that there are brothers and sisters around the country, not as many of them as we would like, who are also having group sessions that are listening in as groups, and we want to have more and more of that. And so I think that, Brother DJ, we just probably want to remind people that this call is not just simply a call, but it's part of a campaign to build community, to build our people, to build an economic base. And I just want to encourage all of us to go through the 14-minute presentation. And if you have not gone through the presentation, even after this call, go back and double back and go through that presentation to make sure that you get all out of this call all that you possibly can. And those are just the words I had, Brother DJ.
Okay, well, I certainly appreciate it, and I'm sure the listeners appreciate you, setting that context as well, because that's extremely important moving forward. Sometimes we get so caught up and inundated, the day-to-day grind that we fail to pay sometimes attention to the intricate details, but it's always good for those of us as Ulu family and also those who are prospective members to take the time to go through our website and read the material, because that way you can come into the call or to the broadcast much more informed, and you're able to ask, much more intricate and intimate and important questions about the inner workings of Ulu, and really make the call all that it need and should be, especially the second half of our discussion. With that being said, our call tonight will be in 2 parts, brothers and sisters, for those of you who are listening in for the first time. The first hour from 9 to 10 will be primarily myself and Baba Hekima. We're 2 founding board members of usliftingus Economic Development Cooperative, and it will essentially be a Q&A session, but at any time you have a question or a comment, feel free to jump in and ask your question or give your comment in regards to the discussion or the dialogue between Baba Hekima and myself. The second half of the program, from 10 to 11, will be shored up by our Vice President and our Secretary, Sister Shaniere Norman and Brother Kimbizi Merritt. They will take control or take the helm of the second half of our broadcast, discussing our 10-point appeal and plan. And so We've been going through the various points for several weeks now, and they will bring that conversation to us again tonight during the second half of the broadcast. But this particular first half of the discussion is primarily designed for those of you who are not yet familiar with ULU and simply want to get more information about the ULU brand of cooperative economics so that you can make an informed decision to decide whether or not ULU is right for you and your family. So that's kind of where we are. And again, we're at any time you have a question or a comment, for those of you who are on the call-in side, simply push 1 on your phone, and it'll highlight your number and we'll open up your line to allow you an opportunity to ask a question or give a comment. And for those of you who are listening in via internet, if you want to be a part of the dialogue, give us a call at 646-716-5682. That's 646-716-5682. Baba Hekima, what is ULU? What is Usliftingus Economic Development Cooperative?
First of all, ULU is an acronym for Us Lifting Us Economic Development Cooperative, LLC. We're a business formation. We came into existence formally in 2012, but we actually, the energy came together in 2011 as a think tank. And in our current form, as an LLC or limited liability company, we were formed in that fashion in June of 2013. Essentially what we've done, we've answered the need, what we think is the need that's been expressed by a good number of our people. What ULU is, in essence, again, is a way to aggregate or pool our considerable resources, both intellectual and financial. And so as a business formation, we do 2 things in general. We aggregate or pool resources, and then we direct those resources and start and run co-op businesses, for-profit co-op businesses in local communities. And all of this is in an effort to build a base that eventually morphs into us being able to dominate the economics of our local community. So first of all, ULU is a business formed as a cooperative, a democratic process for the purpose of economic empowerment for our communities and for our people.
Thank you for that clarity. You know, Baba, there's a lot of talk about black economic empowerment, black economic development. A number of people in our communities, very prominent people who teach us about the practical aspects of running a business, of how to be, successful entrepreneurs. What is it that ULU is designed to do? In other words, what is ULU's lane, so to speak, and what does ULU bring to the conversation of black economic empowerment?
Thank you for that question. That's so very critical. And the way you phrase the question is exactly how it should be phrased, because we don't come to replace anything. We just come to add to what is already occurring. And there is a very strong movement among our people for economic empowerment. A part of that is, of course, financial literacy, learning how to better use the resources that we already have. And part of that is building and sustaining new black-owned businesses and educating our people to support those businesses. And so the thing that ULU adds to that, the other 2 aspects, is a different kind of business organizational formation, a large-scale cooperatively owned or mutually owned or group-owned enterprise that seeks to own hundreds and thousands of businesses owned by the same entity, the co-op, And what that does, it adds to the mix some businesses that are all on the same string, so to speak, that are all owned and operated and managed in consortium with each other, in rhythm with each other, so that they can better cross-pollinate, so that they can better coordinate with each other in terms of purchasing together, looking at ways to start new businesses that may provide needed goods and services for the already existing businesses. What that does, it allows us to aggregate more resources to invest in our community than would otherwise be available, because the international bankers and Wall Street and other institutions are really not going to fund us to the tune that we really need. And the other thing that it does, with a considerable number of businesses in the community being owned cooperatively, then those businesses would stand a better chance of performing in a cooperative manner. In that we do not have a strong cultural pattern for, well, I'll say it this way. Our culture does not exact sanctions for appropriate behavior, negatively or positively, in the way that some other cultures do. So with the ULU model, we're able, because we're owners together, to put in place patterns of behavior and rewards that otherwise would not be there. So what ULU adds to the landscape of economic activity in our community is a section or a sector or part of the economic landscape that is owned by many people in the community, that is mutually owned. And so we would conclude that it's more predictable what the behavior of those businesses would be. And we often say that what ULU adds is a steering wheel or rudder to our economic activity. In the general sense, in terms of entrepreneurship, for the most part, everybody's doing their own thing, trying to survive and build their business as successfully as they can, create jobs, and some people, of course, go into business, want to become billionaires. And we're not saying that that's wrong. But part of what is our motivation, well, I should say our major motivation, is to empower our community. And so we add a third dimension to what we think is occurring and has to occur for an empowered black community economically, politically, and culturally.
Great. That's a great answer. With that being said, is ULU at all opposed to entrepreneurship in any way? And also, what is ULU's position on people who may not have a desire to be entrepreneurs but simply want to work in a safe, environment where they can make a livable wage, for as long as they would like to? What is ULU's position on that?
Well, first of all, we're certainly not against entrepreneurship. ULU will never be able to build enough businesses to take care of the needs of our community. So there's definitely the need for us to be entrepreneurial and for brothers and sisters to find a way to really make a contribution to our rise and get off the corporate plantations. Now, some brothers and sisters simply want a wholesome workplace where they can gain a decent salary, where they can be protected against tyranny in the workplace. And ULU offers that, because all of our businesses are co-op businesses that will be managed by the workers and owned by the co-op membership as a collective. But it's a perfect environment for being rewarded for our genius, our creativity, our labor, our time. And so most of us, I had a friend some years ago whose wife was instructed to train a European to take her job, and she worked at Georgia Power, the power company for this region. And the stress was so much, she actually jumped out of one of the windows and committed suicide. This was maybe 15, maybe 20 years ago, but I knew the husband. And so, the workplace can be extremely stressful. So ULU will champion creating workspaces where the workers are not only managers or formal management council, but they're also ULU members, they're also owners. So it's a worker-owner environment. The workers don't own the businesses by themselves. They own it in tandem with all other ULU members, but the workers control the workspace. So that's very important, and I'm sure people on the line very often long for a situation where they were not agonized at the workplace.
Definitely, and I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't want or desire, number one, safe working conditions and a fair, equitable working environment, and of course, if ULU is in a position to create that and facilitate that, that is definitely something that prospective members and even current members should pay attention to. That's something that we all should have, regardless of whatever type of industry we're in or whatever skill set we may have. So that's extremely important for people to make note of. You mentioned cooperative economics and group ownership. Can you explain to our listeners what is group ownership within the ULU framework?
Yes. As I mentioned earlier, ULU is, again, an acronym, usliftingus, Economic Development Cooperative. And what we have done is created a format where each person who becomes a member of ULU is actually a partner in a limited liability company. So we join as partners. And the businesses that we create, we own together. So when you hear the term group economics, many times brothers and sisters are saying economics where people cooperate with each other. Well, ULU's brand is stronger than that. We are owners together. And I've heard the term Ujamaa, and of course during the Kwanzaa season we celebrate that, and at other times as well, cooperative economics. And many people really use that term loosely, meaning that we should cooperate with each other. Yes, we should. But in order for us to be successful, based on our thinking, we must also create institutions where we own those institutions mutually. So beyond that, we think that those institutions should function in a wholesome way. And so when we say Ujamaa, we really mean family-centered economics. It's owned by the family, and it benefits the family, and it anticipates being passed down to future generations in the family. Not only the wealth, but the wealth-creating elements. So when we talk about cooperative economics, we, in terms of the ULU brand, we're talking about those businesses that we own mutually or as a co-op or a cooperative. So group ownership. And that ownership piece is critical. When we, even if we don't say it, everything that we talk about, the ownership implication should be noted, and that's very critical.
Yes, it definitely is. So, if I'm hearing you correctly, it seems like, or what it sounds like, is that ULU is in place to kind of buttress or support existing entrepreneurs or those that are looking to become entrepreneurs or black business owners. So it's in addition to, it's not an either or, it's both and. Am I hearing you correct on that?
Yes, both and there are going to be opportunities for already existing businesses to provide goods and services to ULU businesses, and that's going to be our first instinct. If we need a carpenter, a mechanic, or an accountant, an attorney, we're going to reach out to our brothers and sisters who already have existing businesses in the community. And in some cases, those are going to be strategic alliances. In other cases, it just may be transactional relationships based on a particular need at a particular time. But in other situations, we're going to be joined at the hip. And so it's both and.
That sounds like a beautiful relationship. It really does, especially the complementary nature of the two in terms of ULU supporting entrepreneurs and entrepreneurship. With the current membership, Baba Hekima, what percentage would you say of our existing membership are entrepreneurs or black business owners?
Wow, a fairly large percentage. I would say probably 15 or 20% of our membership are also business owners. Not all of them list themselves on the Turtle List, and the Turtle List is on our website. It's there's a tab that says Member Owners, and when you click that tab, you'll click the turtle, and our current membership list will open up, and you'll see businesses listed there. But some of the brothers and sisters who list themselves are also business owners. In ULU, you can join as an individual, as a couple, a married couple, man and wife, and you can also join as an institution. So when we say institution, that may be a business, that may be an organization, that may be an association. It's a legal entity that's not an individual and not a couple. So I would say 15, 20%. And ULU really is attractive to people who are business-minded. And usually businesses, persons who are in business who are aspiring to become business owners kind of understand ULU a little faster than people who maybe have not looked at business. So 15, 20%, I would say. We probably have to do a survey to be more certain, but I talked to a lot of them, and I would feel comfortable in that range.
Great. And again, I want to encourage everyone who's listening in on the call-in side. If you have a question for either myself or Baba Hekima, go ahead and push the number 1 on your phone. Push the number 1 on your phone, and we'll see your number highlighted, and we'll come to you to allow you an opportunity to ask a question or simply give a comment. And for those of you who are listening in via internet to be part of the conversation, give us a call at 646-716-5682. That's 646-716-5682. Bobby Kimmy, you spoke a little bit about various businesses that ULU is looking to own and control, not specifically, but in general. How is ULU structured to own and build businesses that the membership cooperatively own as well? How does that formula work, or how does that process work?
As we aggregate and pool capital to open businesses, remember that all the funds that we hold come from our members. We're not being funded, or we're not taking out loans or being financed from outside of our community. Once a person becomes a member, and that's $50 a year, and the first year's membership is a processing fee, and every year thereafter, that $50 goes to that member's capital account. But members are also encouraged as soon as they're able to secure a unit, and a unit is $1,000. And at this period, there is no limit to the number of units that a member can acquire. But again, a person first must be a member and then can acquire a unit. Now, and then as we determine what businesses to initiate and where to initiate those businesses will be structured as co-ops, for-profit co-ops, and the staff will be selected from the ULU members in that community. But that business will be owned by every ULU member throughout the world who has at least one unit. And
okay.
So when that business, as it functions and performs, and as it matures and gets into profit, in addition to the workers receiving a salary, a decent salary, the workers will also receive a bonus to continue to motivate them to perform in an excellent manner. Part of the profits will go back into the general part. Part of the profits will be directed towards a local charity that the ULU members in that local community will determine, and then the other portion will be split equally among the existing units of ownership. Brother DJ, if you had 10 units, then you would receive 10 shares. If I own 5 units, then I would receive 5 shares. And that goes into our capital account. And then once a year, assuming the amount in your account is at that level where it would not be silly to distribute it. In other words, it wasn't pennies, nickels, but it was substantial. Then each year you would receive a distribution as an owner, a distribution of the profits that would come back to you. We call it a return. In some circles in the corporate world, they would call it dividends, but it's not really dividends. It's actually your share of the profits as an owner. And you may decide to leave it in place. Whether you leave it in place or whether you receive it in your hands, it's a tax liability on you as a business owner. But so I think the question you asked in terms of the ownership portion of it, in terms of ULU members. So every member who has acquired at least one share would receive a direct return. But the important thing is that as a member, even if you have not acquired not one unit, the power in ULU is in your membership, not in your ownership of units. Ours is a democratic process, one member, one vote. In the example we used a little earlier, Brother DJ, if you had 10 units, that doesn't mean you have 10 votes because you only have one membership. You can only vote with your membership. So you'd have one vote, and if I had only one unit or I didn't have any units at all, I'm still a member and I got one vote. And so we're equal to bill and to guide the direction of the enterprise from the standpoint of our membership. But we're rewarded with a dividend or return based on our ability to contribute capital and other resources to the enterprise.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, the power is in the membership, not necessarily in the number of units any individual member may own?
Yeah, and I had a brother that asked me that question the other night. Really, right now, at this stage, the most powerful thing that a brother and sister can do relative to our plan is to join as a member and pay your $50. Later on, you can decide to purchase a unit or 2 or 5 or 10, but the base that we're building and the molding of that, the shaping of that, the refining of that is done by members who participate as equal partners in a process of economic empowerment. So, yeah, the power is in the vote as a member. And not only your voting, but also in participation on member committees as well.
Okay. Now, what is the flagship business or the initial business that ULU is looking to operate for the purpose of cooperative enterprise? What is it that ULU is offering by way of businesses to its membership?
Our flagship model, and we want to always keep our eyes on this model, even though we may do some other things in the interim, is what we call the usliftingus market and exchange, or short ULU Mart. Not Walmart, not Kmart, but ULU Mart. And what this is a large edifice on the scale of 150,000, maybe 175,000 square feet, the size of a Home Depot or Lowe's or standard Walmart. And what we will do with these facilities is to retrofit them so that they serve multiple purposes. A farmer's market, a thrift component, a large consignment component, a movie theater, coffee shop and networking lounge, office space for rent, meeting halls, stores, booths, kiosks, tabletop space, weekly auction, business incubator, trade and barter network, credit union. If you think of the size of some of these big box stores and think of what you can do in that space, and of course we talked about a movie theater and other entertainment. So these platforms would be owned by ULU, but we would invite businesses and to come in and rent space, whether they were office space or business space, commerce, and shelf space or tabletop space. So most of the products, goods, and services that you would see in the marketplace are owned by businesses in the community or our partners around the world. And simply what we would do is act as a real estate manager and facilitator to manage the platform. ULU would derive its revenues from rents, fees, and percentages off of some of the businesses that would be done in the space. And so the reason we chose this particular model is that in almost all of our communities, whether they're in the cities or whether they're in a rural area, there is so much pent-up creativity and genius and a lack or a scarcity of a marketplace to show what it is that we have and can produce. And so we feel that the ULU Marts will be a perfect environment for inducing creativity, for all those ideas that we dare not manifest because the marketplaces that are in our community are generally hostile to us. So that's our flagship business, but we will also be creating smaller businesses in the coming months as models and build-ups to the market and exchange.
Beautiful, beautiful. And so ULU will be in a position to not only offer employment opportunities, but also a unique shopping experience. Am I hearing that correctly?
That's right. And ULU Mart will employ no less than 100 people. I mean, all kinds of ways in terms of managing the plant, cleanup, security, everything that you can think of to manage that kind of a space. But it's also an environment where a middle school student can come in and acquire a consignment station and start a business from the floor of the ULU Mart for as little as $50 a month and see that business grow and actually become big enough so that he can then or she can then start in the community proper. So it's a business incubator. For some people it'll be their startup at a very, very nominal cost. So it has many benefits, and when you think historically, especially when we talk about African history and civilizations, we normally think about the marketplaces. Those rivers, those trade routes, and so we have got to again look at commerce. And one of the elements in commerce, of course, is the marketplace. Now, hopefully, not only will we be looking at the buildings, but we'll be looking at the adjacent and surrounding community to strengthen the business activity in and around the marketplace as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. And what are the 3 ways that people can join ULU? What are the 3 ways?
First of all, as an individual, of course, you have to be of legal age in the state in which you reside, or the country in which you reside. In other words, ULU does not require that you be a U.S. citizen to become a member. We have members in Canada, the UK, Bermuda, and Haiti, but we're formatted where we can have members throughout the world. So I'm certain that there are brothers and sisters listening in from our website that are outside of the country. We have inquiries from brothers and sisters around the world. And so 16 years of age or older, of legal age in your community, so that's individual, a married couple, or a business entity or institution. Either way.
Wow.
And you can join right from our website. From our homepage, there are 2 links that you have to navigate. The first link is join, and then you fill out the online application, submit it. And then you go to the next tab right next to it, and it says pay/donate. And you go there and you pay your first year's membership. That's $50 U.S. And you're good to go. We'll try and interview you to make sure you're who you say you are, and invite you to become a full participant in what we think is absolutely something that we have to do, not only for ourselves, but for those babies and for future generations.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's, this concept, this process of ULU is so vitally necessary when we look at our communities, really globally, and the things that we're inundated with. Many of the social ills that we see in our local communities, a lot of these things can be reduced, if not outright eliminated, by connecting those economic dots, so to speak. Just like you said in the beginning of the broadcast, ULU presents a tangible way for us to aggregate our resources and then to direct those resources in a way that makes sense. In other words, in a way that can provide jobs, stimulate the local economy, but also be used as a catalyst by which we can build wealth, and that is vitally important. So what are some of the things, some of the proposed businesses outside of the ULU Mart, so to speak, that ULU can actually see itself involved in over time?
Almost anything that you can imagine.
Okay.
Any business can be a co-op, can be formed. It could be a law firm, that's a co-op, an accounting firm. It could be a bank. It could be an insurance company. It could be a coffee shop. It could be a barber shop. It really doesn't matter. Our membership has encouraged, as a matter of fact, there's a mandate that we look at smaller businesses, and we're looking at smaller businesses now. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 4 businesses that we're looking at. So, again, they can be anything, small, probably now for us, but we can envision some of those being large businesses, manufacturing, transportation, energy. I often say that, and these are factual, there are co-ops that own railroads and other co-ops that own cemeteries. So there's nothing that you cannot own and operate as a cooperative. It's just a different way of formatting your resources and rewarding the people who are involved.
Beautiful, beautiful. You know, I'm constantly impressed, call after call, by the level of clarity, number one, and the sound reasoning that has gone into creating this world-class organization. Being that ULU, Usliftingus, is a for-profit limited liability company, how is it that our impact is global, so to speak, in terms of membership, but overall economic aggregation, not just nationally but globally? Can you talk to us a little bit about that and ULU's potential?
Yeah. I hope this brother's not on the phone. If he is, he's going to call me. But we have a member, just to show you as an example, we have a member who lives here in the United States, but he is also a part of an inner circle of in a worldwide industry based in Africa. Some of his comrades are billionaires. And that may be duplicated with other members. I just know of this particular situation. But there are industries in the world that should be dominated by Africans. Coffee, tea, cocoa, certainly the precious minerals out of the Congo and other areas. So as this platform is being built, we have the ability to connect with other energy and other initiatives in the Caribbean, in Central and South America, in Africa, or even in Europe. Remember Matai, the black MLM that was decimated some years ago, essentially when Ken Bridges was assassinated in the D.C. sniper scenario. But right before that, Ken had negotiated an agreement with the Spice Island, Grenada, to be the exclusive worldwide distributors of Nutmeg. And so that may be a small, relatively small enterprise or market, but there are several markets that we naturally should dominate, black hands to black hands. And so I would say that what we build in these initial months and years, and it's not going to be easy. It's proven not to be easy, but it's so necessary. And I remember Dr. John Henry Clark often talks about our people wanting simple and easy tasks to perform. And he reminded us that the task of managing a nation is not simple. It's complex. Of course, we're not talking about managing a nation. We're talking about managing a business that could be and should be a part of the foundation of a people who are thinking in terms of group interests, whether we call that nation, whether we call that sovereignty, whatever we call it. And so the foundation that we are building is for a people who have decided to control their economic destiny. And if you don't build the structure that we're talking about, then the international bankers and Wall Street will continue to be in control. You know, in Atlanta, we have Tyler Perry as an example of a very successful business person. But I often say if we had 1,000 Tyler Perrys in Atlanta, obviously that would be a great benefit. It would create a lot more jobs, businesses that would be associated with that activity as well. But that in and of itself would not create a black economy. What ULU is proposing and involved in doing is actually laying the foundation for the erection and the sustainability of a black economy. That's something different from just owning black businesses and supporting black businesses. So this work is fundamental. If we are not committed to this work, then by default we leave ourselves vulnerable for domination and exploitation by anyone who chooses to cut out each pound of flesh.
Great, great. You know, I remember sitting at that table when the initial call went out, and there were dozens of people that, you know, responded initially to the call for great reason, you know, for great reason. And as time went on, people's schedule and, you know, things, prior commitments and all of that began to, you know, take place, and people had to make a decision on what they could do and were able to do in terms of ULU. And I remember when the board really gelled and we began to move from you know, the research stage, so to speak, the think tank stage, into actual implementation. And to see where we are today, some 5 years later, with a sound process and plan that we are able to offer to our people with the utmost confidence. And that's not saying that ULU is 100% where, you know, where it needs to be or will ever be. It's a work in progress. But to be able to see this growth and development, not just organizationally, but personally, how much we have grown, not only as a board but as an organization, is truly remarkable. To be able to manifest thoughts into tangible solutions is like one of the greatest things that I think a human being of any race could ever be involved in. And to really be in a position to solve the problems of the people of your race family is, I think, something that we should always be about, you know, as a true developmental process. I mean, I can't think of a better way to really not only challenge us as individuals, but really to fulfill us and satisfy us in ways that, to me, no other thing can. So I just wanted to offer that. But we're kind of winding down for our segment of the program, Baba Hekima, but if you don't mind, definitely would like you to offer us some parting words for those who are listening in on the call for the first time, and even for those who called in who just may need a little bit more inspiration, so to speak, in terms of ULU. Give us something.
Well, I appreciated what you just covered, because the work is not easy, but it's very rewarding. It's joyful because you're clear about what it is that you're building. When a person or a people determine that, well, let me back up. But I would think that everyone on the call and listening in over internet radio, and many of the people that they know in their hearts would prefer to be rulers of self as opposed to being dominated, ruled, and exploited by others. And so we feel that to begin the process of building towards us being in a position to protect and defend our self-interest is economic control of our local communities. And I'm encouraging everyone who is not a member to take a risk, to stick your neck out and become an ULU member. Again, it's $50 a year. And if you go through the presentation online and request additional information, you'll receive our 22-page operating agreement and our 4-page values and ethics document, and that will be in your hand before you make a decision to become a member. But what I do want to press and challenge us to not be fence sitters. In other words, not being able to make a decision. We want you to make an informed decision. But if this feels good to you, we need you to become a member and help us build out this process. By no means are we where we need to be and where we will be going. So we need the energy and the ideas, the creativity, and the genius of the collective as we mutually build this process. So I just encourage all of us to, when you receive the email for the next week's call, forward it to everyone on your list. And for people that you talk to them, encourage them to forward it as well. And make sure that you and the people that you can influence go through the online presentation and then come to this call with questions. So no one no one had a question tonight, huh, Brother DJ?
Actually, as you said that, we've just got someone to prompt their line for a question. So we'll go ahead and open up this line at this time. 4440, 4440, your line is open. Caller, please state your name and where you're calling from. Welcome to the broadcast.
Okay, my first name is Chieftain. My last name is Abbott. I'm calling from Miami, Florida. First-time listener. I was referred over by a friend of mine in Atlanta. However, of course, extensive traveling. Great platform. Actually, I must say, I was born in the Caribbean Islands, but I pretty much grew up in Philadelphia and now here in Miami, Florida. Move around. Matter of fact, I listened to the brother was talking some serious stuff there. He was right on point in terms of, for me personally, I just listened to this. I listened to the video last night, actually this morning around 3 o'clock. I think it's a great platform for us globally, because the reason I'm saying globally, because that's basically what I'm in, international trade. That's my career, international trade or international marketing. However, I listen to the plights of a lot of people from the Caribbean, especially the agri-sector we have down there. And me personally, having listened to this, it's a great platform for our people to see some daylight. Because the reason why I'm saying that, I was just going to some information of the TPP, the Transatlantic, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and it's going to kill a lot of countries, not even in the Caribbean, but also in a lot of the African states.
Yeah.
So for me, knowing what's coming down, this is great. Great vision, and I'm going to go through it again. But I definitely, I'm going to be a member. I like this because I'm talking to you right now, I'm presently developing an online class in global entrepreneurship, because that's what I do. And also I'm in the solar energy business also too. So for me, this is a vehicle too, and I'm just listening to you guys. I'm excited, and I passed this information on for my friend. He sent me a link, and I sent it off for a couple brothers, and I know they're on the internet listening to me right now. A couple in Miami, one in New York, and another one in Philadelphia. So I'm excited. To be honest, I'm very, very, very excited about this, what you're doing, and this is great. And I think sooner or later, our people are going to jump on this, because this is great.
Thank you, and we look forward to you becoming a member and teaching us on the international level, because there is an interest among our members to do business globally, and anytime we can attach ourselves to persons with expertise in that area, that's a plus. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Good night.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, brother. Okay, well, yeah, that was definitely a great Great question as well as comment, and we certainly thank the brother for giving us positive feedback. We'll go ahead and take a short break at this time, and definitely want to thank Baba Hekima for joining us for the first hour and giving us a treasure trove of information, a very good, lively, and informative discussion. So thank you, Baba. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back on the other side, we'll be joined by Shinyere Norman, who serves as our vice president, along with Kimbizi Merritt, who serves as our secretary. And for the second hour, they'll walk us through our 10-point appeal and plan for building the new black economy.